And we are live. We'll let people trickle in. That's Carl Corazzini. I'm Evan Marinofsky. We're brought to you by our friends over at Prize Picks, the exclusive daily fantasy partner of the CLNS Media Network. Use that promo code CLNS to get up to $100 matched on your first deposit. Carl, all I got to say is wow. I have one word written on my notebook, and it just says wow. Wow is all I've got. That was my biggest takeaway is wow for a lot of reasons, but wow is my big one. What about you?
Well, I got more than wow. Sorry about that.
Thank God you have more than wow.
Yeah, I think that in the first two periods, anyways, that's as well as Boston's played. Well, certainly in this series, anyways, but in a while, I think their forecheck again forced Toronto to think. I think that really got frustrating for Toronto, and then that power play goal by Marchand, I think that broke their spirit a little bit. I think it was right, like both teams on each side got a soft call against them. I think Domi's cross check to the back is a little soft, maybe a makeup call for McAvoy's trip, but Boston capitalizes, and the rest of that second period there wasn't much pushback from Toronto, and then you get scored on with 22 seconds left going, right? I think 22 seconds left. A tough a tough series of events there for TJ Brody and in the back of the net, and that's the end of the game right there.
It was. And what's funny is I think everybody was sweating that third period after Marner scored. Because I mean, Bruins MO all season has been with close leads late. They're not the best team at it. They're one of the worst. And I'm like, oh shoot, here comes a comeback. The Leafs kind of there was a rise in the crowd, and it was they were more into it and they were more aggressive. And then Nylander takes that penalty. And it's like, that is a microcosm of the series to me, right? Just when Toronto claws their way to a point of, tying things up or coming back, they shoot themselves in the foot. Like, what is that? I mean, that's an offensive zone penalty you're taking. And a guy, DeBrusk did not have a stick. So you're just box him out. You don't need to grab him by the shoulders and pull him down. And they did. And then they took that, and that killed their momentum. And then, that was after Joel Edmondson almost scored twice. So there were so many moments you can point to in this game where, things just went haywire for the Leafs. And I mean, you look at the end of that second period. I don't know if you saw the clips on Twitter of Marner, Matthews, and Nylander getting into it on the bench. Matthews didn't come out for the third. They think that he's injured. They bring in Joseph Woll, who looked a lot better than Samsonov. I think we can assume that Woll is going to get the start in Game 5. But again, I want to state this series is not over. I know it's 3-1. I know the Leafs looked like garbage for not garbage, but they did not look good for most of that game. But I mean, you can't help but feel great about where the Bruins are at, because it's not shocking, but I mean, they played they played two outstanding games, I thought, in the last two games against Toronto, in Toronto.
Yeah, you can't ask for more than what the Bruins did on the road. I think when you talk about shooting yourself in the foot, and I'm obviously not just looking at penalties, but Toronto was undisciplined, right? Like, they made Brad Marchand a priority tonight, and that didn't help their game. And
no, it did not at all.
And what you look at, like, anytime you're playing on the road, you're trying to play within your structure, right? Which Boston did an amazing job tonight, right? Like, the goal was certainly shutting down the stretch pass. They eliminated that by closing off the red line, taking away the walls with the defense. With the forwards holding that line. I think
we got to get the whiteboard out. We got to get the big whiteboard. We got to diagram it all out. Yeah, I think that's what we need. It's that time of the night.
I know. I was trying to figure it out because they had been changing up their forecheck every now and again. I was trying to just figure out, like, all right, like, what is it? Because you look at Bruins' first goal, and they're playing some sort of 2-1-2, right? Like where both the first two forecheckers for Boston are following Toronto's defense, but then at other times they pull back into the 1-2-2, and it all came down to one of two things, right? Can F can the second forechecker from Boston get right on top of Toronto's second team? And if they couldn't, then they were pulling back into that 1-2-2, or if they weren't getting an extended or not getting a dump beyond the tops of the circles, and they would immediately pull back, and you would see that Bruins winger take away the stretch pass. They just the structure for Boston was excellent tonight. Like obviously, yes, Toronto, out chances Boston 8 or 9-2 there in the third, and you felt like Toronto was coming back. But two road games like that for Boston, it's an unbelievable place to be 3-1 going back into Boston come Tuesday night.
You nailed it on the structure. You look at just tonight, right? Like, Maple Leafs are pressing in that third period. They're trying to, make it a 1-goal game. They're getting some chances. They had a really tough time getting through the neutral zone, even after Marner's goal. And when they did, the Bruins blocked a ton of shots. You saw that in the final 2 minutes where they were just blocking everything. Nothing was getting through. They were defending from the middle, like just smart hockey and structured hockey. And I'm impressed because it's like, you're in Toronto. The place is starting to jump up again. The Maple Leafs have some momentum, and they didn't break. And I think that, you see, like, that's how the Bruins are going to win. If the Bruins are going to go on some kind of run, clearly they're not going to outscore teams. They're not going to, win track meets. They're going to play structured hockey. They're going to be annoying to play against. That I thought that Frederick Heinen and who else was on that line? I'm blank. Oh, Van Riemsdyk. They pinned the Maple Leafs in their own zone a lot. Frederick was a menace, and you saw it on that first goal Van Riemsdyk scored, where that was just great forechecking, and it led to low ride pinching, and then your guy Van Riemsdyk scores the goal.
Yeah, I mean, and again, I want to be fair to Montgomery. I think we had talked about it prior to Game 3, just in a text exchange. I thought that those were panic moves.
Right? I did too.
Yeah, right. Like get Van Riemsdyk in, get Lowry in. I thought Lowry looked excellent tonight. Like he played with more confidence, more urgency. But Van Riemsdyk, I can't believe the goal, and this is why. Anytime you find yourself that wide open, which is a great forecheck by Heinen, forces not the turnover, but the play to go up the wall, and Lowry smart pinch. Anytime you find yourself, maybe this is me, right? Like that's why I'm sitting in my chair at 11 o'clock at night and not on the ice. But anytime you find that yourself that wide open, it's just like panic, and you want to like skate around that goalie, but he just calmly takes it, forces Samsonov to open up his legs, and then it's through the 5-hole. That's an unbelievable play for a guy that's, for the first, 2 games is sitting in the stand. So yeah, good call by Montgomery to get him in. And you look at Marchand's goal too, as much of that is deception on McAvoy's part. Like as Coyle makes that pass, he goes backhand to McAvoy. Van Riemsdyk is all in Samsonov's face, right? He can't see him around. You can see him trying to look, and that allows that pass to be a reality for the one-timer. Van Riemsdyk's been good. He had chances the other night in Game 3 to finish that off and be a presence on the power play. Good calls by Montgomery. And I will say it, I didn't say that before Game 3. I think I probably said panic and they're going to lose, but that's good job by him.
And even look at like on D, right? We're talking about those roster moves we talked after last game where we were like, all right, would tweak this, would tweak that. Now Shattenkirk and Lowry were the D pairing out there when Marner scored. Yeah. But I didn't find them to be liabilities. You mentioned Lowry. Like I thought Lowry had a fantastic game tonight. I didn't count many mistakes. He was aggressive. He tried to score a through the legs goal. Yep. Early with the game was 0-0. It was crazy. Like that's like just that's where like it is good that he's inexperienced. Like, it just saying like, screw it, I'm going to try this. Wotherspoon was great. I thought Wotherspoon had a really good game. A lot of good outlet passes. He gave himself time. He made like, that's what I love about Wotherspoon is he makes simple plays. He knows he's not going to dangle through a bunch of people. He knows he's not going to, make the seam pass that leads to a breakaway. Just makes the smart first pass. And I think that he's good at that. And there's a reason he's in the lineup, and that's kind of why. And it's also shutting the other team down. So I had no problem with the lineup at all tonight. I thought like every line was solid. I thought that fourth line buzzed. Boquist was great. Like you can go up and down the lineup of just guys who were contributing. And to me, like Boquist, I don't know if you saw, I tweeted a play behind the Bruins net. There was like a battle, and it was like 2 Leafs, 2 Bruins, and then Nylander comes in as the third guy, and he puts himself in a bad position. And then, like, you can see him battling, and then he disengages. And then Jesper Boquist is one of the Bruins in there, just hits him, right? Just bumps him up against the glass. And Nylander, you can see, like, disengages, where it's like he just like stands there. And then Boquist just puts his stick in the battle, pulls the puck out, and they go on a 3-on-2 the other way. And so, like, it's just, I thought Boquist was great tonight. Would you make any lineup changes going into Game 5?
Yeah, I don't think I had a lot of issue with any of the lineup tonight. I think everyone, by and large, played well. I think we did, if we're being fair to our our fans watching comment section. I think we did say that Pastrnak was right. Like, I know that he scores.
Yes, I agree with you. I'm gonna stand by you on this because I'm right there with you. I'm right there.
By and large, in that first 2 periods, again, he scores with 22 seconds left, but he did not engage in a battle tonight. He didn't win any wall battles. He turned pucks over in the defensive end, and he had no interest on the forecheck tonight. So, right, like moving forward in the series, and if they're able to get out of the series, you need him to be your best player. And he had a hard time tonight. I still do think against a possession team, right? Like looking at it right now, Shattenkirk only played 11 minutes tonight. 11:07. I think against a possession team, right? Like maybe that didn't play out the way Toronto wanted it to tonight, the way that they play the game. But I would probably slot in Shattenkirk because I think you'd probably be more willing to play Grzelcyk more minutes than you played Shattenkirk. That's probably the only thought that I would go with. But everyone else, I thought, played a good game tonight.
Yeah, and I think the fact that you're winning with Pastrnak getting shut down a bit. I know, as you said, we know he had that goal. But the fact that they
shut down.
What do you mean?
Well, no. When you think of the term "shut down," it's I'm thinking it's leading people to believe that Toronto's hard. They're all over him. Like as I've seen it. This is me. This may not be you, but Toronto's focused on Marchand. Every shift, finishing hits. Every whistle, going after him. I haven't necessarily seen Toronto do that to Pastrnak. I just feel like he hasn't played well. I'm just going to go with that. He hasn't played well.
I can get down with that. I have noticed the Leafs going at him a bit, though, especially when he's on the ice. I have. And so I think that a combination of that, but the fact that the Bruins are getting that secondary scoring, right? Van Riemsdyk, there's the game 1 thing and playing as structured as they have. And I thought Pastrnak in the second half of that game, or the third period, was a little harder on the forecheck, not quite where should have been. But I still think that you could have wanted more from Pastrnak in this game. But obviously he scores that goal. By the way, if Brad Marchand, if Pastrnak didn't finish that chance in front, can you imagine? Like Twitter, Bruins, I'd have to put my phone down. Like Twitter would just be on fire. If Marchand passed up shooting on a breakaway and Pastrnak didn't score that, like that was my big takeaway. Like, thank God that went in, because if it didn't, oh boy, that would have been rough. What do you think about that?
About that goal in general? My frustration would be with if I'm a Maple Leaf fan in that situation. There's 32 seconds left in the period, whatever that is, 28 seconds left, and you allow Boston time and space to kind of break out. Like no pressure left. If you go back and watch the tape, it's everyone kind of sagging back past the red line, putting no pressure on Boston, and allowing them time and space to make plays. Like I know it's kind of disjointed. I don't remember who the defenseman is that I think it's McCabe that initially makes the read to step up on Zaka, and then Bodie kind of in a tough spot there and kind of jumps at the play, leaving a 2-on-0. But why no forecheck? That's the thing that's frustrating. Yeah, I mean, I don't think Pasternak's ever going to miss that opportunity right there.
No.
But it's a nice play, right? Like more deception there by Brad Marchand, selling the shot and then going backdoor to Pastrnak.
Samsonov was rough. That's the other thing. Like you mentioned that power play goal earlier where he completely overcommits to McAvoy shooting, even though McAvoy never shoots on the power play ever, and he still overcommits and leaving the net open for Marchand's one-timer. It's clear they're going to go with Wall in game 5. I think that's pretty obvious that they're going to go to Wall for that. Here's the big question. What do the Bruins do? What do the Bruins do in net for game 5?
No, they're going right to Swayman. They have to, right? I think they showed tonight that they're going to go away from it. I think there was a sense of urgency to put your best lineup out there, right? You allowed Swayman to get hot. You continue that on Tuesday night. You put him right back in there. I don't see at this point that in this series you go back to Ullmark unless, Swayman gets hurt and or has back-to-back poor games. But I don't, at that point, that would be game 7, right? Am I doing the math? Yeah, if he goes back game 5 poor, game 6 poor, I don't think you're going to see Ullmark in the series again.
I don't think you're wrong. I think the fact that they went to Swayman tonight means that, he owns the Leafs right now. Like, how do you go away from that? Honestly, you can there's an argument to be made, and I want Swayman in game 5, but the other argument would be, hey, go with Ullmark. You're up 2 games in a series.
No.
No, I'm not saying I want that. I'm saying that the others, I'm giving some cadence to the other side of the argument. The argument for Ullmark would be bring Ullmark in, do the rotation again. Don't have Swayman play 3 games in a row. And then, if he wins, the series is over. And if he loses, you can go to Swayman for the final 2 games. I still think Swayman should be the guy. I do. Swayman is too good right now. One play that I think will get looked over, but I was really high on this when it happened. Right after the Marner goal, William Nylander had a chance right in front, and he cut to his backhand, coming through the slot, and Swayman just on his stomach made the save. And to me, that's been Swayman this series, right? Like even tonight, there weren't a ton of high danger chances for the Leafs. There weren't a ton of grade A looks because the Bruins played really strong, sound, structured defense, right? But on that play, Nylander could have easily scored. And Swayman made that save. And I think that, again, the way Swayman's playing, he's locked in. The rebounds are not bumping out. To me, you got to go back to Swayman, because tonight was the knockout punch, putting Swayman back in. And now you go for the series and you keep Swayman in. He's been your one of the biggest X factor for you this series, I think.
Yeah. I think why they went back to him tonight was what we talked about after game 3, try to steal a game in Toronto. Not that he stole the game. Why they won the game tonight was by and large due to their structure, right? Why you didn't see a lot of grade A's was because of what happened in the neutral zone. Right? Toronto wasn't able to hit their stretch pass. They weren't able to play with speed. And because they weren't able to hit that stretch pass, whether that was being able to create off the rush or create zone time by establishing their forecheck, that never happened throughout the whole game. So Swayman didn't have to be as good as he needed to be. Now, if Boston's capable of having that same effort on Tuesday night, it doesn't matter who's in the net, but I'm going right back to Jeremy Swayman, and I'm not even going to look back for the rest of the series. I understand what the other side might say, but let's get the win, go with your best lineup. That best lineup is Jeremy Swayman.
If Swayman is to have a bad game in game 5, would you go to Ullmark in game 6?
No.
Interesting.
No. No, I mean, I think I have a lot of confidence in the fact that he's not going to have a poor game, right? Like, what did I hear on the radio today? One of the stats
Oh God.
for Frederick. Well, Frederick's goal, right, the other day was the chances of that going in were less than 1%. I don't feel like Swayman, the way he's playing, the way he's carrying himself, he's not going to have one of those goals. And in order for
I
him
agree.
not to be able to play in game 6 would be, you'd have to see 2 and 3 of those, and that's just not going to happen. It's just not happening. You can see the way he's moving. You see the way, and this is, again, I am not a goalie expert, but you see the way he's tracking the puck. The way that he tracks the puck allows him to prevent second chance opportunities. He's just been lights out right now, and it would have to be a total collapse of Boston for him not to play well at this point.
I agree. I do wonder though, like you think back to last year, right? Bruins were up 3-1, coming back from Florida. Olmark was the guy. And I remember we sat here and said, should they go to Swayman in game 5 just to kind of switch things up? And Olmark.
What did we say last year? I'm a Swayman guy, so I could have seen myself saying, "Oh yeah, let's go to Swayman."
I want to say we debated it heavily because we didn't really feel passionate either way. I think we were more like I can go back and try to find it after this, but I think we were very much like maybe it wasn't that. It might have been whether or not they should sit Bergeron to rest him for the next series. That was another thing we really got into.
I remember that.
So I think goaltending wise, we were kind of, we might have been more on the side of stick with Olmark, but again, I can go back and check. But I do wonder if that lingers in their heads of like, oh man, we don't want Swayman to break down here. And I don't think he will, but I'm saying like, I wonder if it's in their heads of like, hey, this would be 3 in a row. It's the playoffs. We were going to do a rotation, but he's so hot right now. Like that's the problem is that it's not like they're winning these games 5-3 and 6-2. Like he is playing great. Now tonight they only had the Maple Leafs at all strengths, right? Including power play, 6-on-4. They had 7 high danger chances. The Bruins had 13. They had 7. Like that's not a lot. So again, it was a good game from Swayman. I stick with Swayman. I mean, do you think they're thinking about? I mean, they're definitely thinking about Olmark for Game 5, but I mean, I'm guessing they'd probably err on the side of Swayman, given who they picked tonight.
Yeah, my guess would be as a coach, Montgomery's thinking, let's go right back to Swayman. I don't know what the internal conversations are looking like from management. I would think that they're probably more the group that's kicking around the idea of going with Olmark, but I think eventually Montgomery is going to make the decision, and I think you've got to go with the hot hand. He's played enough hockey. He's been around the game. He's won championships at different levels. So in his head, he wants to close it out. You want to close it out on Tuesday. You want to get your team as much rest as you possibly can. You're going to be in an environment that will be passionate on Tuesday night for it to end, right? Like I think Boston fans are obviously intelligent fans, and they're going to want as much rest to gear up for what would be, right? Like if Boston gets out of this series and plays the eventual, right? Like who we think the eventual winner being the Florida-Tampa, Florida is going to be a physical series, and you want to have as much rest as you possibly can. So you're trying to win on Tuesday night. That's right. Like that's a goal every night. But I think you put aside, and I think I saw one of the commenters go, if you want to start the rotation in the next series, go ahead. But
I agree.
Right now, you go to Swayman and you win Tuesday night. I think a little bit tonight, and yes, Toronto played much better in the third period, but I think you broke their spirit in the first 2 periods, and especially on that power play goal, and most certainly, right, like the seed of doubt that goes into your mind after you get scored late, like that's a frustrating way to go. And I give Toronto credit for playing well harder in the third period, but to lose two again, to lose two at home, when by and large this has been an even series,
I know.
and your teams are pretty close across the board. It's hard. It's going to be hard for Toronto. Like, if Toronto wins this series, kudos to them. Like,
Oh, yeah.
That will take a lot of resiliency, and obviously it's dependent on what Matthews looks like, if he's capable of playing on Tuesday night. But without him, I don't think they have a chance.
So, interestingly enough, Sheldon Keefe says doctors pulled Austin Matthews due to an illness that he's been dealing with. So again, I know that, people have mentioned he's kind of looked like he's been laboring the last two games. They obviously pull him out before the third tonight. Keefe also said the decision to pull Samsonov was simply about trying to change things. The Game 5 starters TBD. I think we know who the Game 5 starter is probably going to be for them. You're right about they were broken in that second period. I mean, then they're getting booed as loudly as humanly possible off the ice. And you got them fighting on the bench. And but see, this is where like the last year thing comes into my head, right? If you remember last year in Game 4, they were going at Olmark. Remember there were scrums and there were like five guys all squared up. I mean, not like fighting, but grabbing each other. And I remember us sitting here being like, the Panthers are broken. The Panthers are broken. And like, no one expected what the Panthers did last year to happen. So that should be stated. The Leafs have some real issues here. Goaltending being chief among them. Special teams, their power play did not cash in tonight again. And they had multiple chances. I mean, that slashing call on Pastrnak in the third, I mean, that was soft. Like, that was a soft call, but they get it. And then they don't do anything with it. Like, so like, to me, it's right now the Leafs have some big issues. Goaltending, special teams, Austin Matthews. Like, those three right there, they're your issues. And if you can find a way to solve two of them, maybe you get back in the series, but I don't know.
Well, you're in the series if your power play is half decent.
Oh, really? Yeah.
The other night they have 5 power play opportunities, and you have that much talent. I mean, to be able to put out Marner, Matthews, Riley, Nylander, Tavares, that's your unit. That's as good as it gets in the National Hockey League, and to go 2 straight games without a power play goal, that's not good enough. And so it's the specialty, right? Like, as much, right? Like, I don't think Samsonov was the problem tonight. I think he doesn't help you.
No, I don't think he was the problem either.
Yeah, at some point that power play, it's got to get going in order for you to be successful in the series. And there's no reason. I'm going to go a double negative here, so I don't want to do that. I'm going to try to be a teacher at St. Mark's and talk my way out of the double negative here. The power play's got to get going. They can't win the series if those players don't play to their capabilities. And to this point, which of Toronto's best players have played to their level? Matthews, until tonight, has been really good. Everyone else really hasn't given you much. Is that fair?
I think that's very fair. I mean, did you see Paul Bissonnette rip into Mitch Marner in that second intermission? I don't know if you saw it on Twitter. Did you see it?
I'm watching Nesson, so I didn't. You got to tell me. You got to send me clips here.
I should send you the clips. You can watch it after, but the gist of it, I can't do it as well as Biz did. But they someone just said in the chat, can we stop talking Leafs? Can't stand them. Unfortunately, that is who the Bruins are playing, so we do have to discuss the Leafs a little bit. I'm sorry, David. But Biz ripped into him, and they showed examples of just him not trying, like second effort not being there, not going for loose pucks, just soft penalty killing coverage, things like that. And it is wild. Like, I remember there was that clip coming out of Boston in one of the first 2 games where he just kind of
McAvoy.
avoided that play.
Yeah.
And it's like, whoa. And then you see these clips and it's the same. It's like, oh my God. And he scores in the third, but you're right. Their best players have not been good. And there was a commenter I just put up on the thing that the Leafs have been ass. And I don't think it's 100%, but it's definitely a big percent of why this series is 3-1 Bruins. The Bruins have stuck to their structure and they're winning the way that they want to win because the Leafs' big guns just have not been there. And that's in part due to the Bruins, though, and their structure, I think.
All right. So I did see that in the comment section where someone said, "Oh, stop talking. The Leafs gave that game to the tonight's game was about the Bruins, especially in the first 2 periods. Like the Bruins made more adjustments here in the neutral zone this evening in order to limit offensive, not only just offensive opportunities for Toronto, but zone entry and zone time. Like, Toronto didn't have that through the first 2 periods at all. That was all on Boston. Now, if you're looking at the series in entirety, the Leafs best players haven't given you anything. And now the one thing to look at will be the first 10 minutes of the game on Tuesday night, because you're gonna get an initial push from Toronto. They're going to give you their best shot. They'll come out of the locker room with a game plan. They'll probably be heavy. They'll probably lean on, right? Like I think Toronto's fourth line has been good. I think you probably see them 2-3 shifts early in that first 10 minutes to establish that they're going to be really physical. If Boston can push back, if they can hang in there in the first, then it's over, right? Like if you push back, not even if you score, but if you can establish some high danger opportunities, if you can establish your forecheck, if you can slow the game down on Toronto, then I think Boston will be in a good spot after that initial 10 minutes on Tuesday night.
I agree. That's a huge thing because in game 1, the Leafs came out like that. In game 1, the Leafs came out firing those first 5 minutes, couldn't score, and that kind of screwed them the rest of the game. I would, and again, like Sheldon Keefe's coaching for his job. I think that can't be understated. Like they are going to be an urgent team. They should be an urgent team on Tuesday. Any other team would be urgent. Again, they're too good to have had this little success in the series. But again, I think it goes back to, and I've said this throughout the series and prior to it, if the Bruins play to their structure and play to what their strengths are, they will have success in the series, and we've seen it. And I like one other thing I mentioned prior to the series was the Leafs are not good on the PK. This is a real opportunity for the Bruins power play to come alive, and it has. I mean, they got another tonight. The Bruins got another power play goal tonight, and I just again, things are going right for them. Things are going right for the Bruins. And I think that's, I think for the most of these people watching tonight, that's a good thing. There's a lot more I want to get into from this. We're going to have some quotes from the locker room. But first, a quick word from our friends over at Prize Picks.
Get in on the playoff action and win up to 100 times your money on Prize Picks as you and the world's best players take the game to a whole new level during basketball and hockey's postseason. You can now win up to 100 times your money on Prize Picks with as little as 4 correct picks. You can turn $10 into $1,000 with basketball and hockey entries today on Prize Picks, America's #1 fantasy sports app. Prize Picks has something for every sports fan, from basketball and hockey to League of Legends and everything in between. You can pick LeBron, Connor McDavid, and Jude Bellingham all in the same entry. Prize Picks is the best way to get action on sports in more than 30 states across the country, including California, Texas, and Georgia. Prize Picks even offers injury insurance so that your entries stay in place even if one of your players gets injured. For basketball games, if you have a player who exits the game in the first half and does not return in the second, Prize Picks will have your back and not count that as a loss. Prize Picks is really simple to play. I can make my picks and submit my entry in less than 60 seconds. Quick withdrawals, easy gameplay, and a huge selection of players and stat types are what make Prize Picks the #1 daily fantasy sports app. And with the Celtics season in full swing, there's plenty of opportunities to participate in Prize Picks. This week on Prize Picks, I'm selecting Jason Tatum for more than 30 points, Kristaps Porzingis for more than 2 blocks. So download the Prize Picks app today and use code CLNS for a first deposit match of up to $100. Again, use code CLNS for a first deposit match of up to $100. Prize Picks. Pick more, pick less. It's that easy. And now let's get back to the show.
So this just came out. Now, this is interesting. Jim Montgomery told TVA Sports in a post-game interview that the plan was to give one start to each goalie and play the one that was hot after. That explains why Jeremy Swayman played again tonight. It's not a bad plan. Not a bad plan at all. So, again, makes sense.
So I think that's a little bit disingenuous, right? Like if you look at and see who got hot after one game. Ullmark wasn't the reason they lost game 2. He played well.
No, not at all.
Right? Like, so you went back to Swayman in game 3. He was really good. You're 2-0 with him, and you go with him again tonight. I don't know. Yeah, I mean,
but the thing is, like if they win game 2 with Ullmark, is Ullmark starting tonight?
Yeah, probably.
Probably, right? Like,
yeah.
I would assume, because it's like, oh, they're both just doing well. Let's just roll with it. So, but I think it's because he lost, and I think Swayman's just been so ridiculous against the Leafs this year. Like, Swayman owns the Leafs at this moment, right? Like, I think it's 6-0 now. 6-0 this season against the Leafs, regular season and postseason included, because now he's got 3 wins in the playoffs. I think he had 3 wins during the regular season. Chat can correct me on that if I'm wrong, but I think it was 6-0. Like, he's in their heads on stuff like that. And I think that, as we've said, you got to go back to him in game 5. And I would assume they are, given Montgomery's comments.
Yeah. And I think Montgomery said that the other day after game 3, right? That Swayman was in their head, kind of alluding to that dust up between Domi, Swayman, and Maroon, which obviously I don't think Sheldon Keefe took too kindly to, but he's been great. And I don't know what the matchup is, or it's something in Swayman's head, but he's been as good as it gets in the playoffs. So yeah, 6-0, you roll him right back out there on Tuesday and see if Toronto can beat him.
That's the biggest thing. Sheldon, a quote from Sheldon Keefe: "You can question a lot of things. You can't question the effort." I would disagree with that at some capacity.
I missed
the quote from Sheldon Keefe 17 minutes ago: "You can question a lot of things. You can't question the effort." I'm assuming he's talking about the Leafs. So again, I would disagree with that. I think the Leafs have not been great in the effort department in some areas of the ice, but that's just me.
So I think you look at it, and if you're looking at effort, I think their 5-on-5, and especially their forecheck at times has been really good early on. I think if you're looking at from an effort standpoint, maybe tonight is one of those spots where they, 5-on-5, they didn't get their best. But I think in large, and again, I will put this on the Bruins in large part, they're frustrated by the structure of the Boston Bruins. In the special teams department, you don't often, and you've watched enough NHL hockey, and so have the commenters. The penalty kill for Toronto is just low energy, low urgency, low active sticks. That I can't understand. They don't take away lanes, and Boston's power play is good, but they're not. Right, like they're not to this level, and
I mean, you look at Marchand's goal, right? Coyle with a no-look pass to McAvoy at the point, like that should be picked off, right? Like that shouldn't get through. And then there's a lot of things there, and again, it's good the Bruins power play is getting going, and I think that they've been sparked, but it's also like the Leafs PK has been bad, been really bad, and it's plays like the one I just mentioned where it's like, how does that get through? We sound like Leafs fans.
We do. Yeah, no,
but we're trying to evaluate that. We're trying to honestly evaluate it. I can't just be like, they suck. There's a reason for it, and that's what we're discussing.
Yeah, I think the effort, right? Because we're responding to Sheldon Keefe that you can't fault the effort. I think you can on the special teams. I think especially on the penalty kill is all effort. Right, there's some level of that, and you're not. if you're giving, and why I'm saying that is because that second goal after what Domi's penalty, and let's call it what it is. That was soft call.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
That's a makeup for like Charlie McAvoy's slash off that rush. That's a soft call too. But like in the playoffs, that happens on every shift. You let that go. That's a non-call. And then you go from, and usually that's when you kind of bear down. You understand where you're at in the game. Right? You understand that you're going to need a kill, that any second goal here from Boston is going to be a backbreaker. And that goal was a backbreaker. Mm-hmm. And it's just opportunities to clear, you don't. Right? Not closing out on McAvoy. The issue that I would have on Samsonov on that goal is never, if you go back and look, never takes a peek to his left as just where is Marchand, right? Like, is he gutting outside the dot? Is he inside the dot? Is he up at the top of the circle, right? Like he's out on the hash marks. Like he never takes that peek. It's as if he is committed to the shot from McAvoy. So, I mean, that's hard to really fault him on that, but just their penalty kill effort hasn't been good enough.
It hasn't. And this person, the can, says way more heart. And I think the Bruins had a lot more heart tonight. Whether it be structure, closing in on guys, closing off lanes, forwards coming down deep in the zone and taking away any passes to the slot to high D. Like, I just thought the Bruins, like, it was a team win. I know that sounds so dumb and cliche, but it was like, that was a team win. That was not like, last game, it was a team win also, but it was, Brad Marchand and Jeremy Swayman had a great game. And it was really those two. And we can get to Marchand in a second because I think he had another strong game tonight. But tonight, to me, that was a team win. And I see some people mentioning like, oh, what do you think of Danton Heinen? Danton Heinen needs to get going, this and that. Like, Heinen helped create that first goal for Van Riemsdyk. Like, if you can get something, if you get a play like that out of Heinen, you should be pumped. And I know, like, he produced a little bit during the season, or a lot more than we all thought he would during the season. And people kind of want that to translate. And it'd be great if it did. But if he can just forecheck the hell out of teams, play smart hockey, do his job, if the production's there, I mean, you're going to want it. But if it's not, you'll take it if he's making plays like that. I don't have the score sheet in front of me. I don't know if he got a point on Van Riemsdyk's goal. I don't think he did. I thought it hit Frederick's stick and then Lowry poked it down, but I don't think he did. But like, he had a big hand in that goal. So to me, I've been fine with Heinen.
Oh man, Heinen is a modern day PJ Axelson.
I love it.
Yeah, similar, right?
You played with PJ, right?
I played on a line with him for my limited time with the Boston Bruins. Just someone that was always in the right position, wasn't overly fast, didn't have a ton of didn't have a ton of skill, but obviously had enough skill to play in the National Hockey League. But how about didn't wow you with his skill, but was a really productive player because he made other players' jobs around them easier because he was in the right spots. And I think that's what right. I think that's pretty accurate. That's what you're getting out of Danton Heinen, right? Like, seems to be in the right spots. Maybe you want a little bit more from him because he's got some skill. You want him to produce at a higher level. I don't think that that's what Boston's asking for. You're asking him to be a secondary scorer. And I think, right, like, you're going to get that, like, that production tonight, being good on the forecheck, forcing someone to turn the puck up on the strong side wall. So, right, like, that's what you want from him on any given evening. Make others' jobs around you better. Chip in when you can. And so, yeah, I would obviously, I think people are asking if he stays in the lineup. I'm sure he stays in the lineup. I think he's been pretty good this series.
I think he stays. I don't think you make any lineup moves going into Game 5. I think you have your line set. Your lines are working. I think that fourth line is coming together. Maroon, Beecher, Boquist. I've liked that. I thought Maroon actually looked pretty good tonight. At least in the ozone. He was better. And, Beecher contributed. And as I mentioned earlier, I thought Jesper Boquist was great. I thought Boquist was really strong tonight. And just he pushes the play. And, he's physical. And I like that. And the third lines worked, as we just mentioned. And by the way, because Axelson was just mentioned, people that it's happened last game when someone mentioned a second rounder that you played with. I'm blanking on the name.
Jonathan Girard.
If people just mention like late 90s, early 2000s NHL players, Carl probably ran into them or played with them at some point, and we'll just do the whole show on like, it'll be like, Freddie Meyer. And, we know Freddie obviously because of prep, but it'll be like, oh, I remember Freddie. He was, played for the Thrashers. And so maybe we'll just keep naming random players and we'll hit those.
Oh yeah. Let me know. I think the one thing that we've missed, and I've seen it pop up quite a bit and maybe goes unnoticed, how good Brandon Carlo has been throughout the series. Like he has been steady defensively, at times has been physical. I think it was game 1 or game 2. He chips in with a goal, but I don't think you can ask for much more from Brandon Carlo. Like if you're getting this consistently, the Bruins are in good shape, because obviously you have Charlie McAvoy, who's one of the better defensive, like all-around defensemen in the league, and you need that second pair to be able to shut people down. And I think he's been excellent. Like I don't know what his advanced stats look like, but from the eye test and what it looks like watching the game here at home from Framingham, Massachusetts, Brandon Carlo. I just got to make sure I get a Framingham reference every show.
I like it. I can respect that.
But Brandon Carlo has been excellent.
So advanced stats wise, this is where like I agree with you. So advanced stats wise, he was the worst on the Bruins 5-on-5. He was outchanced 7-26 at 5-on-5 time. But again, I think advanced stats don't apply to him. Or don't apply, but they don't apply as much just because he's playing so much in the D zone. He's getting that Matthews matchup. So to me, like, I've loved Carlo in this series. Okay. I think in his own zone, he's been great. Like, that's what I mean. Like, I agree with you in the sense that the advanced stats aren't going to show it because he's getting the Matthews matchup. He's getting a ton of D zone starts. I mean, I can scroll over and see like, he had a 7% offensive zone faceoff percentage, meaning all of his stuff was not in the ozone. That dude spends no time in the ozone because he's constantly either starting shifts in his own zone or getting that harder matchup. So I agree with you. I know I scared you for a second there.
Yeah, you did. Is this true from Riley Arendt? The last 2 series had the Bruins up 3-1 with Toronto.
Keep in mind, two out of the last 3 series with these 2 teams.
Okay.
So it was 2013. They almost blew it. I remember that. And then it was 2019. 19. They were. I want to say 19. They were down 3-2.
Okay.
After, they were, because they had a stinker in Game 5. So it was 18. If this holds, it was 18. So people can check. I think it was 2018 that they were up 3-1 as well. So. That's why I don't. This series is not over by any means. I do not think this series is over. I think the Leafs do have a path. It's just I don't have confidence in them executing that path. But that's not going to make me say like this is done. The Bruins are going to win in 5. Like I'm not even near that. I was convinced they were going to blow that lead in the third period. I was convinced. I was like this. I texted at the beginning of the third period. I texted Connor Ryan and Ty Anderson. And I said, actually, I can read what I texted them. I said, where is it? I have to scroll back a bit because they were ripping on me. I texted them. Oh, boy. I said, it'd be classic Bruins for them to blow this lead late and lose. And Connor goes, Evan, I swear to Christ. And Ty goes, why is Evan the way he is? And then when Marner scored, Ty texts me and goes, Evan, let the record show that I will kill you with my bare hands. So again, but I expected them in that third period to have a little more, not to have as much success as they did. So I'm happy that they did. Very happy that I was wrong. So that's good.
Yeah, I mean, obviously throughout the regular season, Boston had a difficult time holding leads. Especially in third periods, and especially it always seemed under a minute left, they were always letting up late goals. And once Marner got that initial goal, you felt as though, oh, here we go again, but able to close it out, which is good. And Yeah, I see a lot of people wondering about Charlie Coyle again. I think when does he establish himself? When does he kind of get going in the series?
I mean, this might be unpopular, but
Okay.
I've never seen his role in this series. And again, he's a top 6 center, so you got to produce. I get that. But he's a shutdown guy. I think that's his role. And he's, like tonight, he mainly faced the Matthews line. I'm pulling up my notes to make sure I'm right on that. Yeah. And he said the Matthews line the whole series. And look, as that line has had success at times, but for the most part, it's been kept in check. And that's not an easy line to contain, right? We've talked about this. Domi and Bertuzzi are hard guys to play against. And again, Coyle's basically in a similar role to like Carlo, just up front. You're tasked with just shutting down the other team's top line. And so I think that's why the production for Coyle has not been there as much as you would expect, But Zacha could be a different story because that line also has not been at 5-on-5. I haven't found to be super productive unless I'm forgetting something. But
yeah, no, I can't remember either one of them kind of get going. But if you're looking to close out, you're not going to be able to consistently count on Marchand to have games like he's had the last two games in Toronto, right? Like that's not going to be a reality, right? Like he's risen above being the target of Toronto's ire. So at some point, your other two centers have got to come to the forefront and produce something. And I get it. I get what you're saying. But like, yes, that's a really difficult matchup for Coyle to have Austin Matthews. But to defend against Austin Matthews, your goal should be then to do what? Play in the
score and play in the
offensive end. I agree. I don't think anyone's asking Charlie Coyle to score every night, but you're asking him to do something that he's capable of, and that's get in on the forecheck, be right. Like he's not overly physical, but he can. Right, like his big thing's the reverse hit. Anytime you come to hit him, he's a large human.
Mm-hmm.
But can he apply some of that pressure in the offensive end? Can he force Austin Matthews to have to defend just a little bit? That's, I think, all anyone's actually asking. And that'd be a huge benefit across the way. So, yeah, he's got that matchup. It's tough, but he can, right? Like if producing in this series is having some offensive zone time, he's going to do a little bit better there.
I wouldn't disagree with that. I can get on board with that. I mean, I think, again, and you're going to need him next series, obviously, to produce, and how again, if they advance, I just looked, Zacha and Coyle both have 2 assists to this point. I think Zacha was a -3 entering tonight.
Okay.
So again, that's why it is remarkable the Bruins are winning this series because, it's been their power play and goaltending and team structure. That's legitimately the reasons they're winning. And yes, you've had a secondary scorer goal. You had Van Riemsdyk tonight.
Yep.
You had Carlo and Beecher in game 1. And you had, who else did you have? You've had other secondary scoring in the series. But your top 6, 5-on-5 has not been scoring. But again, it's goaltending and defense. And that's their strength.
That is their strength. And that's why they've been good throughout the playoffs, right? I mean, not the playoffs, but the regular
season. Frederick last game, the beautiful snipe that went in. Let's talk Marchand.
Okay.
Because Marchand's having a hell of a postseason. Last I checked, he was tied for the league lead in points. It hasn't updated on the ESPN app, so I can't see if he still is. But just makes that great play on Pasternak's goal where he forces the puck around. I forget which defender was back for Toronto, but forced it around him and then made the smart pass over to Pastrnak. Was that Brody?
Yeah.
Oh,
he's the one. He got kind of caught in no man's land. He makes the read to try to take that puck, and Marchand steps around him. So.
Yeah. And then he also scores on the power play, which I believe I just want to make sure I have this right before I spread some fake news. It was so that goal moved him past Cam Neely for the most playoff goals in Bruins history. That is absolutely crazy. insane. I know you played again. We mentioned it last time. You played against him in the minors. You thought, his motor was incredible, but to lead the Bruins, an original six franchise and playoff goals, it can't be understated how much of a success his career has been.
Yeah, it's a kind of a testament to Cam Neely, right? Like that group too, like his career shortened and he still had, I think it was 55 goals through Bruins playoffs, right? Because I think tonight was Brad Marchand's 56. How good Cam Neely was. That can't be understated. I know are you a little bit too young to remember Cam Neely's play?
Oh God. Yeah. I mean, I know what he did and I've caught up on it, but I mean, I was born in 99, so I missed that completely. I mean, I missed the Joe Thornton Bruins days. Like I can't, my conscience kicked in when I in 06 when I started watching the Bruins. So a little different.
1999?
Yeah, I'm a 99, Carl. I'm a 99.
When's your birthday? This is like what month?
February 13th.
February 13th. All right. So that was my sophomore year in college. That's pretty scary, Evan. You were born and I was 20. So awesome.
There you go. There you go. You know what? Someday the roles will be reversed, and I'll be sitting on a show with someone who was 20 years younger than me, and I'll be like, holy crap. I mean, it's bad enough at the New England Hockey Journal. Like, I have to write about kids who are 10 years younger than me, and I'm like, what? Like how? Like you're an 08, you're an 09. Like how do you exist? But they do.
Man. Now everyone's chiming in, born in 96. Like I'm a 1979. Turned 45 last Sunday.
And you look great.
Yeah. I mean, Cam Neely was unbelievable. We have two Camerons on our team at St. Mark's, and I'm pretty sure that their name. Well, I know in one case, because one case it's a Framingham family. He's named after Cam Neely itself. I mean, just the quintessential power forward that could do it all. And for Brad Marchand to spring past him with his 56th goal tonight is a testament to, I think, to more that the work that he puts in on a day in and day out basis. Because for someone his size, there's no way he's staying in the National Hockey League if he doesn't consistently work. And I think if you look at where he was early in his career, I think in his first 20 games, he had no points. And then it's like this slow build where you can see him consistently adding elements to his game year in and year out. And you're at this point in his career, I think he's 36-ish, 35, 36, something along those lines.
I know he's turning a new age soon, so that's like what everybody.
So, and I think that's what I saw, and not the work ethic that he had on the ice that translates off the ice, and he's got to be right. Like you obviously see the clips of him training with Sidney Crosby back home, and he is as competitive in the weight room. He's as competitive at practice as he is in the games. And that's the sole reason that he's having the success that he is. And we'll always try to tell our kids, and it's just in every aspect of your life, those that are consistent are the ones that are successful. And he's consistent. He's as consistent as anyone in the National Hockey League. And that is something that he does every day. He's not just showing up to the rink for game day, Game 4 against Toronto. He's like, I'm going to flip the switch and I'm going to be really good today. Like that competitive spirit that he has tonight, I'm guaranteeing he is the same way in practice, same way in the weight room. He probably approaches his nutrition and his sleep the same way to try to give himself the opportunity to be as successful as he can any given evening.
Every time I watched him practice, it's the same. It's that same, just going hard. And Wayne Gretzky actually on the TNT panel had a great story that he heard from someone. Did you see that?
I saw a little bit of it. Yeah.
Yeah. About how, and people should go look it up if they haven't.
Working with the rookies, right?
Yeah. He spent the whole week working with the rookies, showing them how to be a Bruin and everything. And I think it's stuff like that. I also think it's so impressive, given he's going to be 36 on May 11th, but also like this season, he struggled down the stretch. points wise.
Yep.
Production wasn't there like it normally was. And now he opens the postseason and he's among the league leaders for points. Like, I just, to me, what he's able to do, how he's led this year, how he's seamlessly fit into the captaincy. Like, we've talked a lot in this episode about the goaltending and this team structure and all that stuff. And that's the biggest reasons. But right there with it is just how clutch Marchand's been and how he set the tone and how he's so in the Leafs' head. Jack Edwards said it best. He's between the ears of the Leafs. He's just so in their head right now. And I think that's played a major role in the series too.
And I think that was short-sighted on Sheldon Keefe's part. Like the idea of calling him out at the end of game 3. I understand what the game plan is. That is, hey, through 3 games, Brad Marchand has no penalties. How is that a possibility? Hey, referees, take an extra look at him. But I think that had to been some sort of message in the locker room because of the way that they approached Brad Marchand tonight. It was every whistle, every shift, go after him. And that it led to this undisciplined approach, right? Like not necessarily taking penalties, but like how they played their game tonight. And that's the case, right? Like Swayman might be in their head, but Brad Marchand certainly is in their head. And that's a priority of theirs for sure.
It is. And just, again, like the small plays. I mean, he hit Bertuzzi low tonight, which kind of, looked like a hip check, a little lower than a hip check, but it's, still did it. And
I thought that might've been a penalty there.
It was borderline.
And I think in large part for 2 reasons. One, that is that low bridge hit is something he's done in the past and been suspended for, I think, right? Like, I think he got suspended 2014. I can't remember who the defenseman is that got hit from Vancouver, but he was suspended.
That was that Sammy Sallow?
It could have been, but I think he was
one of those guys.
I think he was suspended. I'm gonna have to do the same thing that I did the other night. Commenters, you're walking with me.
Oh, because you got to put your thing on the charger. We didn't learn.
I didn't learn.
Near your chair.
How do I know that we're gonna go an hour every time?
Because it's interesting.
Yeah, no.
We have a lot to talk about.
Yeah, no. What is it? What's the saying? Fool me once, shame on. Shame on
just
you.
George Bush messed it up.
Yeah.
We can't. It's like I say that in my head. I don't have I don't have it actually done. Well, fool me once, can't get fooled again.
Shame on you. Fool me again. You'll never do it again. That was George Bush. Yeah.
Fool me once.
Fool me once. Shame on you. Fool me again. Shame on me. Yeah. My bad.
Yeah. Exactly. That's exactly what it is. So, but now you're good. I assume you're plugged in.
Perfect. Now you get to see. That's, just out that back window is a little bit of Framingham, greatest now city in the world.
There it is. And as Shooter McGavin said, now watch this drive. Another fantastic George W. Bush moment. So we got the GW ones in the air. But I mean, to me, like, so this is the question I always ask you around this time of the stream.
Yep.
You were a little more pessimistic coming into this series. Has your vision on this series, has your mindset on this series shifted at all?
Yeah, it has. But I feel like I've done this twice. I think originally I said Bruins in 6. Then after game, I don't know if it was game 1 or 2. It had to have been game 2. I said Bruins in 7. I guess can I go back to Bruins in 6? I mean, I think Toronto's too talented to kind of lay down. But if they don't have Matthews, then they have no chance. I think really Nylander was really good tonight. Like from a skating perspective, I didn't assume that he would be able to possess and skate the way that he did tonight. But yeah, my outlook has changed on the series. I just don't know where I stand. I want to say 6 because I think I want it to go longer because it is such a good rivalry. And, through the years they've had such close series. And I think not just on paper, but the way that the series gone is it's closer than 3-1. Like but I've never seen Marchand's goal tonight. Just I think Toronto got deflated, and I don't think I've ever really seen that.
So I have a similar take to the one I put up on screen. Bruins in 6 seems least likely, either 5 or 7.
Okay.
I tend to agree with that because obviously if they win on Tuesday, it's over. But if they win, I mean, if they lose, if the Leafs win on Tuesday, like, are they really going to drop the ball at home again in game 6? Like, are they again going to have a no-show? Or like, I don't know. To me, like, or someone else just brought up Bruins have no problem on the road. So maybe they would win into game 6. I had Bruins in 6 to start the series. I was, I was definitely optimistic in the sense of where the Bruins were at. I'm going to stick with 6. I'm going to stick with 6 because this person just made a good point. Evan, you've said 6 for weeks. I'm not going off that. I'm going down with my prediction. I don't think I'll be right. I think ultimately, you want to know what I think? I think the Bruins win on Tuesday. But
yeah,
I'm making on the record. What I just said was off the record. Nobody's going to record that. Off the record. I think they win Tuesday. On the record, my prediction is going to stick. We're going to keep going with Bruins in 6. So no one can use what I just said against me. It's either or. So
no, I think that's the thing that I'm trying to rectify in my head is I've said that it was going to be a longer series, but in reality, I think that Boston wins on Tuesday. And here's the thing. We've had a great group of people that have come out and listened to us, but no one really cares what I have to say. Like what my prediction was at the beginning of the series. Like,
yes, they do. They care.
Boston in 6.
They care.
No one cares. So I'm going Boston 5 over on Tuesday.
I respect that, but I disagree. I think they do care because there were comments after the video aired, after the last post-game show aired, people being like, we need the whiteboard. We got to have a whiteboard. So second round, maybe I'll buy a whiteboard and I'll have it here and we can diagram some plays and things like that.
You just said second round.
Well, I said if. I said if. I said if.
I didn't hear the if.
I think I said if. Well, if I didn't, I meant to say it.
I did not hear the if.
Well, if the Bruins make it to the second round, I'll buy a whiteboard. Well, you probably have a whiteboard.
So I've got multiple whiteboards.
I was going to say.
I have so many whiteboards. I think I just have 2 or 3 thrown out at St. Mark's hanging around places. Like, here's the thing. I lose everything. Pens, honestly, never share a pen with me. I always ask people, can I borrow a pen? But I'm not asking if you can borrow the pen. I'm going to lose it. Dry erase markers, those end up in the washing machine and my pants.
Oh my God.
Yeah, they end up stained. And then whiteboards, I just leave them in different places. And then I got to go buy a new one, but then you find the other one. So there are 3 at St. Mark's right now, just floating around with a 4th one, probably in the car somewhere. Colton works on a 5th one, so we can bring it out. And I just don't know that people really want to see what a 1-2-2 flood looks like, or a 2-1-2 flood. Like that's no fun. But someone votes. I just saw a vote for a whiteboard examples. Okay.
The people want the whiteboard, so maybe next time, or if the Bruins make it to second round, the whiteboard is like the surprise, the surprise of getting there.
I don't know. Kevin says, "Oh God, please no." I assume that's in reference to the whiteboard, right?
No, I don't think it's in reference to the whiteboard. I don't think it's in reference to that. So there's a lot with this series that's going to continue. Yeah, more people saying we want the whiteboard. So I think that people want it. It's 2 people. If it's 2 people, it's everybody. It's a loud minority. It's a loud minority. Again, to me, I am surprised it's 3-1.
Yeah,
given where I was at the beginning of the series, Bruins in 6, I thought it would be like 3-2, and then the Bruins close it out in 6. 3-1 is, to be in a 3-1 spot, like, I mean, again, like, we'll go back a bit, right? At the deadline, I know you and I texted about it when they were considering trading Linus Ullmark. I was very against it because I'm like, that is your strength. Your strength is in net. You can, you can go out, and if the trade was going to be Omar for a score or whatever, like, you can add scoring, but you're still not going to outscore these other high-end scoring teams. One player is not going to make that difference. The difference is having two legitimate goalies. Now, Omar came in game 2. Swayman has done, 3 of the 4 games, and he's hot, and he's going to probably play in 5. But just to have Omar there, I also just think that, they're winning with their strength, and they're a bigger team. The Bruins are bigger than they have been in past years, right? Frederick is playing more physical. They have guys like Morgan Geekie. You have Pat Maroon. They're bigger, and they protect the puck more. And I like that. So again, like, they're winning with their strength. And I think that that's a good thing as well.
Yeah, I think maybe that's something that I underestimated. And I don't remember. There was a point in the year where I said this, and I think even to you, and I'm getting there in this series. I have respect for Morgan Geekie's game. Like, I think that's right. Like, he's not quick, but you see him out there on the power play. He does a little bit of everything. He may not be great at anything, but I think that's someone that Boston's going to look at maybe investing in for some time now. I don't know what that term looks like. I don't know if that's 3, 4, 5 years. I think 5 years, but he's young enough. He can play a possession game, especially low in the offensive zone. He can make some plays. I've really liked his series. Yeah, I mean, you go back to that trade deadline, and I think you could see what Sweeney, right? Sweeney, I don't want like what management really thought of the team. Like, you didn't want to invest too much because you really weren't bought into the fact that they could make a deep run. If they were ever going to have a chance, it was that a goalie was going to get hot, or right. Like, if you had both, what you're talking about, if you had Ullmark and Swayman, that at any given night they could win you a game. And if one if one floundered, you just go with the other guy, and that guy could pick up from there and win you a series. Like, that is their strength. I think too, and I think, I don't know if it was after game 2, but I think in game 3 and 4, Montgomery's been really good. Right, like he's coaching to his capabilities. He's clearly a great coach, and this is why I say this: for Boston to lose Bergeron, right, Krejci, and to put out that roster that they have,
Bertuzzi and Orlov.
Yeah, right. Like, add others, right?
Yep.
To put out that roster, and for them to put up 109 points this year, he's clearly a great coach. In the last 2 games, I think he's proven that. I think he has made the adjustments that he needed to make to get that team, to put them in a position to win. And I think that's good for Boston moving forward. If they can close it out, I like where he's at too. I just want to be honest, because I was critical of him in game 2. I think, like, where are those adjustments? Why no in-game adjustments? Why no period-to-period adjustments? And then the last 2 games, he's settled in, and he's been really good.
He's outcoached Keefe a lot in these last 2 games. Big time. It's interesting because one thing that I haven't loved, that Sheldon Keefe has done in these last 2 games is the matchups have remained the same. The top 2 lines go against each other. The bottom 2 lines go against each other. Now, obviously, like tonight, Marner scores with Lowry and Shattenkirk are out there together. That I forget if it was after a penalty or something. That's why those 2 were out there. But he gets that. But I'm surprised he hasn't tried to have, the Matthews line out there when, like, Beecher and Boquist, that line is out there. And is that in part because Pat Maroon is there and he feels he needs to counter with Reeves? Is that a matchup advantage for the Bruins? I'm just surprised that he hasn't gone for those matchups more. Forward line versus forward line.
Yeah, I can't imagine that Patrick Maroon is like, you feel like you need to have Ryan Reeves out there. I don't think that Maroon, I know we've talked about this certainly from a pace perspective. I don't think that Maroon impacts the game in the same way that Ryan Reeves. It would be if that is the case, then that certainly is Sheldon Keefe getting out coached. And that's the thing, right? Like I thought going into coming into Toronto was going to perform at a higher level because you had the opportunity to make those changes, to have those matchups, and they haven't been able to capitalize on that. So all credit to Boston and their depth defensemen that have had to be out there with those top lines at times, right? Like not consistently, but Montgomery outcoached Sheldon Keefe here in Toronto the last 2 games.
You mentioned an interesting thing before, with depth, with the roster, and we often called the Bruins this year the Moneyball Bruins in the sense that they didn't have much to spend, and they, instead of giving it all to Tyler Bertuzzi, they divvied the money out. And here's who these are the guys I think they got in free agency last year: Geekie, Van Riemsdyk, Heinen, which was a very late addition.
Yep.
Boquist. Yep. Boquist, Shattenkirk. And then throughout the season, they also signed Wotherspoon, and he proved his way and he moved his way up, and he's, made the team and everything. Maroon was a deadline acquisition. Peak, who isn't playing tonight, deadline acquisition. Again, I got to give love to Sweeney there, like in the front office, right? For identifying guys like Wotherspoon, and down in Providence or down in the AHL. Wotherspoon's been a career AHL guy, and now he's making an impact at the NHL level. Getting Van Riemsdyk for $1 million. I know you and I had discussed about him, when the Bruins were struggling around the deadline, hey, maybe trade him. And then he got sick and wasn't playing. And now he seems to be, as I tweeted, kind of swagger back. Someone also mentioned Brazeau. I forgot about Brazeau. Thank you. That's another one. He would actually, you forget about it because it's the series, but he was a huge one. So again, like there've been these cheap pieces, Geeky, value where no one else found him. Van Riemsdyk, value in there. What is it? Yes, yes.
Yeah.
Carl.
Okay. So are you saying is the overall point here that had they signed Tyler Bertuzzi that they wouldn't have the options for these other guys? Is that what you're saying?
If memory serves, they would not have had a lot of cap space to do a lot of this depth stuff.
Okay, but did they not offer him a contract that his agent probably overplayed their hand, thinking that they would get more money from someone else? They did offer him a contract.
Oh yeah, they did.
Yeah.
And yeah, it worked in their favor. That's my point. It's like it worked out. They got lucky. But like still, to go find the value people like Geeky and Van Riemsdyk and Heinen and Boquist and yes, Carl, what is it?
So you just said you were giving him credit. So you're giving Sweeney credit for being lucky then?
I'm giving credit for Sweeney for adapting the situation and finding value in these guys. He could have went out and signed a bunch of goobers.
Okay,
and these guys have panned out. Like that's the wild part. And so I think, like the fact that Jesper Boquist spent most of the year in Providence, comes up and packs a punch, makes an impact. Like I think that, like credit to their scouting staff, credit to that front office for identifying. And like Andrew Peak's an interesting one because Peak played like very minimal games in Columbus this year. He's on a contract that isn't really worth what he played in Columbus. And when he was playing here, he was a good third pairing shutdown defenseman. And we'll see what ends up happening with his injury status. So like, again, they're a Moneyball type team, Moneyball in the bottom 6.
I think you're right. Like making the adjustment, not having Tyler Bertuzzi. I think there were a lot of fans, and I don't want to do revisionist, so I think I was one of them that said, "Oh, you've got to keep him. You've got to find a way," and some level of frustration, through free agency last year that they weren't able to keep him because you just saw, right? Like what I saw as a fan was you're losing these top 6 producers in Krejci and Bergeron. You need to do something, and to make the adjustment and to find pieces that fit your system. Although I didn't think Van Riemsdyk, and he's proven me wrong the last 2. I didn't think he was a fit for your system, but yeah, I mean, credit to everyone around, right? Like Sweeney, management, pro scouting for identifying the guys that need to come in to give you enough depth to be in this situation.
I think that's the big thing. And I think that's going to be a huge storyline. Again, the series ain't over. So if they lose this series and they blow it, then we're going to be like, they could have used that high end talent. That's what they're going to need. But as of now, that bottom six talent, Geeky's had a great series. Van Riemsdyk's been good in the last 2 games. I know we've wanted more production from Heinen, but he still created a lot off the forecheck. Boquist has been good. Maroon has brought value. Shattenkirk has been iffy at times. I thought he was okay tonight. Wotherspoon has been good when he's been in the line. So again, it's, it's worked from that sense, which I think is a good thing. You're a coach. So I want to get your take. What does Toronto need to do differently going into Game 5? Anything technically that you noticed? Anything that sticks out?
Well, they're gonna have to find a new way to break the puck out, right? I think unfortunately for Toronto, they're limited in what they're capable of doing because their back end isn't good enough, right? So when Boston takes away that stretch pass, that's going to force Toronto to put more responsibility on their defense. So essentially, what you're going to have to do if Boston is going to sit in that 1-2-2. Right, God, this is so boring hockey talk.
No, keep it going.
Yeah, Toronto's not going to be able to stretch it out. You've got to understand that. Now you're going to have to hinge and come out the weak side. Right, so you're going to have to draw Boston all to one side of the rink in the neutral zone, and then you're going to have to exit out the other side, and you're going to have to create your spacing and your speed that way. Right, like they've tried to do it by getting the puck out of the defenseman's hand as quick as they possibly can. Now you're gonna have to ask for one additional touch, if that makes sense. Like if so, it's gonna go D to D. Now that defenseman that made the initial pass has got to get it back, and now I'm gonna go to my forwards out the other side.
Yep.
And that's what they're gonna have. That's what they're gonna have to do in order to create the speed. And we've always said it. And this, any ball sport, the puck or the ball moves faster than anyone out there. What Toronto is going to do instead of hitting the 80-foot pass now, and will be a struggle for them. I'm not going to say it's going to be easy. Now they've got to put together probably 3 10-foot passes in order to create some speed and spacing in the neutral zone. I don't see them making that adjustment. I don't see them. I don't
being
see
able
them
to execute it.
Yeah, being able to execute that. So I guess, right, and this will be boring. This will be 1980s hockey. You're going to have to now you're gonna have to get red line, get it in, and put pressure on Boston's defense because your forecheck's been good. When Toronto's had their forecheck, their F1 has been aggressive, finished hits, forced turnovers. So, I mean, it's one of those two, and the second one that I mentioned is far easier. So, you go into that 1-2-2, and Boston is, and that second Boston forechecker sitting at the red line. Now Toronto's D he's got to get on their horse, get the red line, and get it in. And I think that's probably a far easier approach.
I agree. And I think that's more doable. The problem is you have so many skill guys. If Matthews is playing, is he going to want to dump it in? Is Nylander going to want to dump it in? Is Marner going to want to dump it in? I think that's where you get the pushback. I think that's the best mode of attack, though. Because again, I think it's the safest play. Because tonight, I mean, again, the Bruins are capitalizing on mistakes. Like that the Van Riemsdyk goal came off of a bad breakout. That was Ryan Reeves. And, you have the Pastrnak goal, off of a kind of a bad zone exit. And so I agree. And the Bruins at times, off the glass and out of their own zone, gaining the red line, dumping it in, forechecking, because it's worked for them. And they want the puck in the hands of the Leafs. So, is there anything else we haven't touched on?
Power play, penalty kill, 5-on-5, Morgan Geeky, Brandon Carlo.
Goaltending
always. No, I think tonight was a really good team win, and Boston should feel good about themselves, but they should feel like they have Toronto on the ropes, and they should put them away on Tuesday night. There should be don't fool around with this. Don't go with any lineup changes unless someone's hurt. Just game 5 is game 7. Get after it, get it done.
I completely agree. I actually could not agree with you anymore on that. Do not change the lineup. Keep Swayman in. Balls to the wall in game 5. End it. Deliver the knockout punch, because they've not been good at that against Toronto in past years. It's taken until game 7 every time. So this is your chance. And it's at home too. Home crowd. And again, the Bruins have struggled at home a little bit in past years. Game 2, they weren't great. I mean, just imagine if they came out and had like an okay game 2. This series would be over.
Yeah.
But I agree.
Boston fans, be loud Tuesday.
That would be a good thing. Yeah. They should want to. I always think if you're going to spend so much money to go to a playoff game, I better not leave with a voice. Like I want to scream. Like if I'm spending all that money on a playoff ticket, I'm getting my money's worth. And I don't care if they're down 6-1. Like I am screaming. I might be booing if they're down 6-1, but I will be using my voice. Last time I was at the Guard. Oh, continue.
No, I was just going to ask, how much is a ticket? How much is a playoff ticket?
I'll look at SeatGeek.
Roughly.
I know SeatGeek isn't official, or it's not official through the Bruins. But if I wanted to go to Tuesday's game, the cheapest ticket is $236, and it's the back of the balcony.
Okay.
Whereas like Deal Score, it's like, oh, $635. This is an amazing deal. And it's like row 3 of the loge section, but that's like $700.
I mean, oh, sorry, I interrupted you.
What I was going to say was I remember being at game 7 of the Cup final covering that 2019 run and seeing like all those people who spent so much money on a game 7 Cup ticket. It's like, oh my God, I'm going to watch the Bruins lift the cup. And they lost. That was not even a close game. It was awful. So like, you always feel bad for fans when they do that, because like it's a cool experience until your team just sucks. Last time I was at the Garden, Carl, you'll love this. Listeners with a podcast saw this. My friend and I bought Hockey East chains, like these.
They were 20. And they were
$20. $20. We might have had a little bit to drink, but still, right? Like the Hockey East chain. We were at the Hockey East championship game, so we brought out the Hockey East chain. So
all I can say is my 7-year-old son. That's exactly what he wanted when he went to the Bruins game. He wanted the Bruins chain, and you got a Hockey East chain.
Well, the reason was no one was buying them, and we thought it was the funniest thing. Why would you ever make a Hockey East chain? And we said, screw it, we're gonna buy one. So
you wasted $20.
Well, no, I got some content out of it. I got this. This happened. I brought it out here. I brought it out on another podcast. So, it was worth it.
$236 for a ticket that's less money than it cost me for 2 sessions of Framingham Learn to Skate for Colton.
That's wild.
Yeah, like Framingham Learn to Skate was $115 per session, something like that. It might have been 100. It might have been 120. So it might have been $240 for September through February or something. I don't remember, but $236 for one ticket.
I know. And it's a game. And it's a great atmosphere. It's a great atmosphere, So I completely I get why people pay it, but be loud. I agree with that. But again, I completely agree. You gotta end it on Tuesday. You gotta end it. We've hit on everything. And we're presented by our friends over at Prize Picks. Use their promo code CLNS. Get up to $100 matched on your first deposit. It's always fun, Carl. We always have a good time. This is always fun. And hopefully we do another round of these. Again, I said hopefully.
Hopefully.
Right, on the record, hopefully. So, yeah, that's that. Bruins win 3-1. Bruins take a 3-1 series lead. And we will see you after Tuesday night's game 5. Have a great rest of your night.